And welcome to another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25, the show devoted exclusively to St. Mary's University and its athletic programs. I'm Dean Beckman, joined by the Sports Information Director for St. Mary's, Donnie Netto. And Donnie, a big show on tap for today. We're going to be talking Cardinals softball and baseball, track and field, tennis. It's all on the show today. And speaking of tennis, men's tennis senior Collin Kaczorowski will be our featured guest in a little bit.
Yeah, it'll be fun to have Collin on. As we've said, we've talked about him a lot on this show, so it'll be nice to be able to put a face with the name and a great college career for Collin. And I'm very curious. One of the questions I do want to ask him is what it's like now that career, that collegiate career is over, because for a lot of athletes we don't get that chance to have them here after their season is done. So it'll be nice to just kind of talk tennis and talk St. Mary's and tell us where Suamico, Wisconsin is. So it should be a great middle segment.
And later in the program, Nathan Voller is going to be putting a softball player in our Student-Athlete Spotlight. That's Kathi Opsahl. And Kathi, Donnie, as you well know, one of the great personalities on that softball team.
No question. Yeah. Always a smile on her face, and certainly a force out there in right field and at the plate. So she's having a very solid season for the Cardinals, and it'll be neat to put her in the spotlight as well.
Yeah. So that's all coming up later on in the program, but right now we want to focus on baseball, because when they're able to play, the baseball team has had some very exciting games and kind of a roller coaster ride, Donnie. The last couple of outings, they win a couple, lose a couple, but they're still in the playoff hunt for one of the 4 playoff spots in the conference.
Yeah, I think one of the things right now is you've got to figure that Coach Winicky is in the running for Weather Person of the Year, because I think he spends more time looking at the Weather Channel than he does his own team stats. And that's part of the craziness of spring sports, and especially a sport like baseball. They were basically, when we are taping right now, they're scheduled to be playing. He has postponed that game to Thursday, so they moved that big game back, and it's kind of been that type of a year for them, where a lot of disruptions and whatnot in their schedule. But it's spring baseball, and you have to kind of make use of that. And like you mentioned, they're still in the playoff hunt. They're 10 games into the conference season, sitting at 5-5. So that they're kind of right about where they need to be. Obviously, you've got to get a couple of sweeps in here down the stretch, but they want to be in the hunt, and they want to be there at the end. And right now, they are pretty much in contention for one of those 4 playoff spots. And it's tough. You've got a conference like ours that is extremely deep, and so anytime you can pick up 2 wins in a row against a team like they did this weekend, that's very important.
Yeah, they had a doubleheader sweep over St. Olaf on Saturday, and Donnie, that was huge. All of the games St. Mary's has been in this year, they've been close games, but they're winning a lot of those close games, 7-4 and 7-5 in that sweep over St. Olaf.
The big thing there is they kind of took 2 different routes for that sweep. You look at the first game, they built a 7-0 lead, were in command, gave up a couple of 2-run innings in the 6th and 7th to make it a 7-4 game. But in the second game, they were down heading into the 9th inning. Willie Dahl, who is just having an absolutely phenomenal senior year, comes up with a big 3-run home run to get them the lead, and they win that one 7-5. So certainly hats off to Willie, who is one of 14 seniors on this team. So it's a big senior class, and he certainly is making sure to go out with a bang. And we talk a lot about this team and a lot of different players, and Ben Berkeley gets a lot of notice, and Bob Kinney's been getting a lot of notice of late. But Willie has been just a phenomenal player for 4 years, and really has stepped his game up this year, and it's exciting to watch him play. He's just he's an Energizer bunny out there. He's a great center fielder, and at the plate is having a phenomenal season, leading the team in batting average and hits and just about every offensive category, and stolen bases, and that's where he really gives opposing teams fits. Right. As he is just the quickest thing you've ever seen, and he's he steals a base, just about a base a game, which is pretty important when you want to set up runs like that.
And we talked about that doubleheader win over St. Olaf. A day prior to that, a non-conference game against Oshkosh. And Donnie, I think there was smoke coming out of your computer as you were trying to keep stats in that one. It ended up getting called because of darkness, right? 11-11.
Yeah, what a crazy game that was. And it was one of those that we haven't played Oshkosh since the early 2000s when they played up in the Dome, and that one ended 1-0. and it ended in 14 innings. So it was almost fitting that this game went to a 10th inning. But yeah, it got dark, and instead of a 1-0 game, 11-11 game, and I think that one of the things with this St. Mary's baseball team is they're going to score runs, and they've got so much firepower top to bottom in that lineup. And so, I mean, an 11-11 game, certainly, I'm sure TJ, our pitching coach, was pulling his hair out a little bit, but I know Coach Winicky was happy to see the offense perform like that. But, aside from that game, the pitchers have really done a phenomenal job for the Cardinals, and you've got to look at, Ben Johnson's doing a great job. Nathan Mathway coming out of the bullpen 4-0 with just over a 1.00 ERA, just a great year for him. And so they have a lot of good arms, and as you get into the heat of the season now, when you're playing a lot of games in a short amount of time, that's going to be the difference is how many live pitchers do you have and how many people can kind of carry the load for you.
And real quick, Ben Berkeley, does he still have that getting on base streak going? So far he's been on base in every single game,
Every
right?
game this year. In fact, he's up to 104 career games. Only twice has he not been on base. And if you really just think about
phenomenal.
that, it's mind-boggling. And I continue to talk about it, but I just think it's something that is absolutely such an accomplishment to only be held off base twice in your entire collegiate career is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the stats this year: 98 at bats, 38 hits, and so 26 walks. So he's got a good eye, but he's not walking all the time. He's getting on base with hits.
And the thing with not only Ben, but a lot of these players is they're so talented. It's not just Ben can hit for power. He can hit. He can spray the ball to all field. He can bunt for a hit, and so it's hard to defend something like that. And he's not the only one. Like I mentioned with Willie, with his home run. I mean, that's his second of the year. You don't think of Willie as a leadoff batter to hit home runs, and so there are a lot of people just doing a lot of very good things offensively for the Cardinals right now.
Donnie, the softball team coming off of a sweep over McAllister, beat McAllister 8-5 and 1-0, but then lost a doubleheader to Bethel 4-1 and 7-1. So they're in, maybe from a playoff standpoint, a little bit tougher position than the baseball team.
No question. Right now they've got their work cut out for them. That was a tough sweep that they got handed to them against Bethel, and certainly did hurt their playoff chances. They're still in the hunt, but now it's really an uphill climb. And right now, Coach Miller's got to figure out a way to get that offense going. You mentioned the sweep over McAllister. Game 2 of that game was a 1-0 victory. Then you've got the 4-1 and 7-1 losses to Bethel. So that's 3 games in a row right there that they've scored 1 run in all 3 of those games. So they need to find a way to get that offense going. They have such a talented lineup. It's just right now they're in a funk where they just can't seem to string hits together and score runs. And Ashley Betzold is doing whatever she can do in the pitcher circle to keep these guys in games. And she's just having an outstanding year inside the pitcher circle. 16 complete games. She's now 2 complete games shy of the school record held by Jenny Shipp at 52, and she's only a junior. So not only is she going to break that record, but she's just going to absolutely obliterate it. And it's hard for her. She can't do it all, although she's certainly trying. She's had a hit in the last 4 games as well. So offensively and in the pitcher circle, Ashley's certainly doing her part. But right now the key is Ashley's keeping him in games, but they've got to find a way to score some runs. You're not going to win a whole lot of games 1-0.
Right. All right. In track and field, Donnie, they were at Gustavus Adolphus last weekend, and as the weather heated up, we all know it was a terrific weekend. The runners heated up as well. Really fast race and some great finishes and performances by St. Mary's.
No question. You've got a first place finish with Maria Mazzarelli in the pole vault, and then you've got 4 second place finishes as well. And so, Coach Anderson has just got to be just happy as can be with the way the season is progressing, because as the season progresses, the meets become bigger, more competition, and yet we continue to just excel. Morris Dennis, we talk about every week. He had a second place finish. Austin O'Hara had a second place finish in the steeplechase. Jacob Hagen Erickson, a name we haven't talked a lot about, but is a phenomenal long jumper. He finished second in the long jump, beating out teammate Brian Ortman. So, again, a lot of people are really providing some great spark. I love what Becca Dupe is doing. Becca is a women's soccer player, track person, and has just been doing an outstanding job in the sprints, but also in the long jump as well. So she's doing phenomenal. Coach Anderson just has so many tools right now. It's just a matter of making sure everybody is competing in the right events at the right time, as he really starts to right now mold things up as they get ready for the conference outdoor championships.
Right, and we would be remiss if we didn't bring up Jovan Newsom. He was on the program last week, and Jovan finished 7th in the 800, Donnie. So, and we also, there was another athlete who's plays 2 sports, Molly Abraham, finishing well last week.
No question, and we're seeing more and more of that 2-sport athlete. We've talked about that a lot on this show, and really the track and field team is starting to show that as well. Not just the cross country people who are crossing over into track and field, but also some soccer players and hockey players and swimmers and divers, and Kira Walski, who's also competing for the track team. So it's exciting to see that where people can cross over and compete in more than one event.
Right. Molly also a hockey player, and we're going to bring in Collin Kaczorowski from the men's tennis team in just a minute. But Donnie, women's tennis finishing strong. They won their last match of the year over McAllister, 5-4, and so they finished 13-7 on the season.
Yeah, I know Coach Hallberg has still got hopes out for an MIAC playoff berth. They're right now sitting in the 6-7 spot. They're done with their season. A lot of teams still have a couple of matches left, but at 4-6, they do have a chance to get in. A lot has to happen for that to work out in their favor, but there certainly is hope in that. And to finish the season with 3 wins in their last 3 matches certainly is a nice way to go out. It's been a good year for the women, and I know that Collin can probably talk as much about the women as he probably can about the men, because they do practice and whatnot together. But it was a good year for them, and I'm excited to see them do very well. Megan Vandenberg had an outstanding year with 17 singles wins. That's second all time in wins in a season. And so, a great junior year for her. I'm looking for really big things from her and Haley Jorgensen next year, Julia Bavey, and it's just been a great year. Linda Sonde at #1 singles as a freshman. So a lot coming back. They're certainly going to miss Kirsten Hoffman because she graduates, but a lot of people coming back on that team, and so I think that you're going to expect some good things from the women as well next year.
The top doubles duo this year, Haley Jorgensen, Marissa Kinzer at 10-6. All right, stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. When we come back, we'll talk to men's tennis player senior Collin Kaczorowski next here on HBC.
Want the latest news on St. Mary's University athletics? Watch the Cardinals Nest on HBC TV 25. Dean Beckman and SMU Sports Information Director Donnie Netto will talk about the past week in Cardinal athletics, highlighting the best in each Cardinal sports team. Player and coach guests will add their stories and insight each week with new shows Thursdays at 5 p.m. and replays Fridays at 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 7:30 a.m. on HBC TV 25. Tune in for the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 as a panel of local sports journalists tackle the hottest topics on everything from local high school and collegiate sports to regional discussion about the Twins, Brewers, Vikings, and Packers. With the Power Play Fantasy Football Challenge to the Rant of the Week and NFL Pick'em, the Sports Buzz is fast-paced and sure to entertain. That's new episodes of the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 with replays only on HBC TV 25.
And welcome back to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. Collin Kaczorowski joining us here from men's tennis. Collin is a senior tennis player, and I know Donnie and I have a lot of questions for him. Now, we have, Donnie kind of gave one of the questions away, Collin, and that is we always want you to tell us where you're from. We now know it's Wisconsin. I'll let you pronounce the name of your town, but tell us where you're from and how you sort of got your start in tennis.
I'm from Swamico, Wisconsin.
Swamico.
It's a suburb of Green Bay, about 10 minutes north of it. And I played baseball all growing up till about 8th grade. My grandparents always played tennis, and I just was kind of bored with baseball. So they told me to pick up a racket, and I learned very quickly. So I started playing, and
imagine that, Collin making a racket.
Yeah,
right?
no kidding.
No surprise
Imagine
there.
that. Collin, talk a little bit about your high school. You obviously played high school tennis, and how that translated into you coming to St. Mary's.
Well, I went to Bayport High School, and we actually had a college coach as our high school coach. So our practices were very intense, and he really got me ready for the college game. So it was very nice. We had a very good team my 8th grade, freshman and sophomore year, and then when those guys graduated, it was on our shoulders to take over. So we learned by fire very quickly, but overall, I thought high school was very fun. I got to play doubles at state. We went twice, and we were very close to making it team state our senior year.
At what point in your 8th grade through high school career, at what point did you say, you know, I can play beyond this? I probably have the skills to take it to the next level.
Probably my junior year. Helberg talks about all the time how he came and watched my first drill, and I was screwing around a lot in it and just not trying very hard. He goes, this is an interesting type of player to recruit, but he saw me play in Winona when I came for our annual tournament, and I was competing against kids that were like Sam Puff and Mike Lunka, who were seniors when I was freshman, and I was competing close with them, so I knew I had a chance to play college, and just never looked back once he started recruiting me.
And let's talk a little bit about that freshman year because, you know, statistically, by far your best year. 20 singles wins, single season school record. I mean, you took St. Mary's tennis by storm.
Yeah, it was nice playing behind 4 seniors who got to play the tougher kids, I guess, but playing 5 and 6 singles was very nice for my freshman year, and then obviously as a sophomore, you go right up to 2, and then this year playing 1 singles was definitely a big jump, but without those seniors, I don't think these last 3 years would have been possible at all.
Talk a little bit about that jump. You mentioned it, playing number 1 singles. You know, anybody that doesn't even know tennis, if you're playing number 1, you're going to face the best there is.
Yep.
That's got to be really tough.
Yeah, doesn't matter who you play, Gustavus or anybody, every school has one good tennis player on their team, and then you get that person every week. And last year, Tim was nice enough to take that for me, so it was kind of nice to get to practice with him every day and get ready for it. But this year, definitely had to have my A game, and I played some of the best tennis of my life this year, and still couldn't win because these kids are so good, but overall it was very fun and great experience.
You know, another aspect of being a senior, not only do you get kind of pushed into that number 1 spot based on talent and experience, but also you're sort of expected to now be the leader, groom those younger players. So did you see that as an important role this year, and how did you go about that?
Yeah, last year we didn't have any seniors, so me and Tim kind of led the team, but with Tim not being able to come back, it fell heavily on me, Blake, and Warren's shoulders, the 3 other seniors, or the 2 other seniors, sorry. And you just got to get ready for practice every day, and then during the fall, tennis is all year, from what people don't know. So during the fall, the coaches cannot be there, so the kids run the practices. So every day we had to have a practice agenda and get ready to go and just make sure the underclassmen were ready. And we had 1 freshman this year, so we just showed them what college tennis was about.
But from what I was able to observe, you, Blake, and Warren, you get along well, you're good friends, and it seems like you keep things light, keep things fun, right?
We actually lived together my sophomore year before I moved off campus, but yeah, those 2 are probably my best friends on campus, but we always try to make practice fun, and if someone does need a kick in the butt, we send Blake after him. So.
All right. Have you ever sent him after Donnie?
probably wanted to a few times. Yeah. Collin, talk a little bit about one of the things that maybe people don't understand either is that we're very fortunate that we have the Winona Tennis Center. The match against Hamlin, second to last one, outdoor match. You practice indoors. You play 90% of your matches indoors. You have to play a few outdoors. How hard of an adjustment is that?
It's tough. We actually practice outside at either the Winona Middle School or the Cotter High School courts, but we had no idea that we'd be going into 30-mile-an-hour winds at Hamlin, so we were down 3-0 after doubles, and coach gave us a kick in the butt, and we ended up pulling off the best comeback in tennis history after being down 4-0, so it was great. But overall, going outside it's very tough in doubles, but I love playing in the wind in singles because I can just make more balls than other people, but it's definitely tough if you're not used to it, always playing indoors.
Let's continue on that Hamlin match because, like you said, according to Coach Hallberg, probably the greatest comeback that he's ever seen. You're like you said, you're down 4-0 with 5 singles matches left. 3 of those go into the 3rd set. Talk a little bit about when that match is over. I mean, you guys must have just been ecstatic with such a comeback.
I was the first one to finish after going down 4-0, so I finally got my first win in conference in 3rd set after, I think, 4 3-set losses already. So that was great to finally get it off my back. And then Blake finished, And then our sophomore 6 singles player, Alex Holmes, saved 6 match points. So we were going nuts already by then. Brett Geeson, our 3 singles, rolled pretty easily, but otherwise the score being close. But it was straight set win. And then Brendan, after winning the first set, lost in the second set tiebreaker and then came back and won the third set. So the girls' team was there as well, so we just kind of piled on top of Brendan after the match, and it was great after the rough season we had. So,
Collin, as a recreational tennis player myself, and I mean very recreational, I much prefer singles tennis because I'm in charge. I know I have to get the ball regardless of where it's at. But what about you? Singles, doubles, preference, and what do you think of the two?
I played singles mostly in high school until it came time to stay for doubles because we had 2 pretty good players in high school, so we teamed up. But I prefer singles, but doubles is definitely more high intensity, and the fact that you have chances to hit people and just it's way quicker movement, but I prefer singles.
Yeah, okay.
And you and Tim had teamed up, made a pretty good combination. Now you had Blake this year.
Yep.
When you switch partners like that, is it difficult to kind of get a rhythm or get into sync at all?
It's definitely different. Tim and Blake play a very different style of game. Blake's go for broke kind of player. He hits 110% every time. When Tim, I really only needed to do my part and I'd let Tim do the rest. But this year I had to focus more on making sure I could control the team and let Blake do what he was best at. But I stayed on the same side of the court for returning, so it wasn't too bad, but I wouldn't want to go out with anybody else other than Blake to play doubles with.
Collin, you heard Donnie and I talk in the previous segment about the women's tennis team. Give us your impression of the women's team this year.
I think this is probably the most fun I've ever had with the girls' team in a season with the amount of girls they had. The freshman class is amazing. Kirsten being the one senior, she was our RA for a year or two, so we got close together. And then Megan and Haley also I'm very close with, so being able to practice with them, and I've ran multiple practices during the fall when coach has soccer and our assistant coach Blake do Nest to work or anything, so I'm really close to the girls team, but it's very fun to see them do well.
So Monday morning you wake up, go to class, I'm assuming, but there's no tennis practice.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about, it's been short-lived, but life after tennis. Has it hit yet that your collegiate tennis career is over?
Yes, it was weird waking up, but I mean, dove for a ball in my final match and really messed up my wrist, so I was happy we didn't have practice. But yeah, it's weird not having practice every day, but I just talked to some of the guys today. We're going to go out and play outside in the next few days, but I'm going to be a tennis instructor at a local club in Green Bay, so my tennis career, I guess, isn't necessarily done, and I'll be back next year to watch the seniors as well, so hopefully St. Mary's isn't completely out of the picture.
So let's touch on the future here in the last question. I tried hard to make you a communication major. That didn't happen. So what is your major? What will you be graduating with here in May, and what are your plans here?
I'm graduating with sports management major and a marketing major, and then I'm going to be teaching full-time tennis lessons at Western Racket with Tim, who we just found out got a job there as well, so we'll both be starting in May. So I'm going to do that for the first few years and then hopefully get into my dad's business at some point.
Yeah, great. Well, it's been great having you, Collin, at St. Mary's. It's been wonderful following your tennis career, and best luck now at the instructor level.
Thank you.
All right, so Collin Kaczorowski, senior men's tennis player. We'll be back here on the Cardinals Nest, and we'll introduce our Student-Athlete Spotlight here on HBC.
Hi, I'm Dan Picarino with HBC. Our goal has always been to offer the very best TV experience and value possible. Customers often ask, why do we have to pay for a bunch of channels we don't even watch? It's kind of like this. Imagine going into a convenience store and wanting to buy a bag of chips. But to get those chips, you're required to also purchase a candy bar, a slice of pizza, a sandwich, and a pack of gum. That's how one channel you want becomes 4, 5, or even more channels in your lineup. Today, there are 6 multi-billion-dollar corporations that control 90% of the existing networks and programming. We feel strongly that these corporations should not be allowed to double or triple their rates from year to year. There are times that HBC must challenge these media companies to keep their rates reasonable. We hope you will join us in this fight. Please visit tvonmyside.com/HBC to learn more. And thank you for choosing HBC.
And we're back here to wrap things up on the Cardinals Nest on HBC. And Donnie, it's been a great program here and a busy weekend ahead. Tell us about some of the events.
Yeah, no question. It's going to be busy. Baseball obviously has the rescheduled game doubleheader against Augsburg on Thursday. Track and field heads to lacrosse on Friday. Then softball is on the road Saturday and Sunday with a couple conference doubleheaders. Baseball plays on Sunday, and then both of our golf teams will complete their spring seasons this weekend up in the city. So, like you said, a very busy weekend, and of course, weather permitting.
Yep, absolutely. That's always the case, right? Thanks for joining us here on the Cardinals Nest. We're going to close with our Student-Athlete Spotlight. And this week, we turn to softball. Here's Nathan Voller with Kathi Opsahl.
My name is Kathi Opsahl. I am an English education major, and I am currently a junior.
You transferred from Winona State to St. Mary's.
Yes.
Was that a pretty easy decision for you to make?
It was actually a very hard decision. I didn't know until winter break that I was going to transfer. My mom helped me out. She noticed I wasn't happy there, and so she told me to make a decision to make me happy and didn't transfer. And so I immediately came to St. Mary's. So, I mean, being a student athlete is so different compared to the one semester at Winona State. There's so much that I've learned. There's so much, I've grown so much here, and I've created so many relationships with my team, with the coaches, and even with my professors that are closer than they would ever been. So I've really grown as a person here at St. Mary's. Well, Florida, as a team, we did really well. We went 8-2. I hit a home run in Florida. That was pretty fun. And we also had a few girls hit some more home runs. And we have a few girls that have been just really hitting the ball hard, like Mariah and Brittany and a few others. And so those games where they really come out and just attack the ball has been really memorable. And even the really stressful games where we'll just be up by one or they'll be up by one, those are really memorable too. I mean, they're stressful, but it's fun to go through those. We have our senior leaders, our 3 seniors that are great, and then there's us juniors, and we'll help out as much as we can, and I'll help out as much as if they ask and stuff. So, and our sophomores are even leaders as well, so helping the freshmen out. So, I've always been outfield. I love it out there. It's more open, and I love catching fly balls. But I've always been right field for St. Mary's. So, I wasn't a fan of English in high school. It wasn't until college when it just really opened my mind, and I thought this would actually be a great thing to teach. I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I just didn't know what. So, it was here at St. Mary's. I took an English course, and it opened up the doors, and now I'm going in that major. I love reading. I enjoy writing papers more than I taking tests, so it's a good approach to that. One of my roommates who's out on the softball team, she is an education major, secondary, so I'm in a lot of classes with her. However, her emphasis is math. I live with other softball players. The softball team, we're always together, basically, especially now in season. They're like family, so you see them every day and you love them every day. And there's so many reasons to come to school here. Academically, athletically, just the atmosphere itself, the people. This school has been the best thing for me. I know my case is different. I transferred, and so I had to look for schools and figure out where I wanted, and it wasn't until I got on campus when I knew. So I would hope that people coming in, they just know what school they want to go to. They know where they need to be, and so I hope that when they come on to St. Mary's, that's what they feel, because that's how I felt. And so I want them to feel that. And St. Mary's is, it's the best decision I've made. It's the best school for me. So I hope it's for everybody else too that comes on this campus.